All right. Welcome, everyone, to Season 3, Episode 11 of Motivate Me 313's podcast. We are officially live and ready to get this show on the road. Looking forward to another great show today, inshallah. Excited for the person who is our guest for today. First of all, let's introduce the usual suspects of this building and during this time, which is, little big bro Yusuf David in the back doing the ones and twos. We appreciate him. Then you got my sister Sada right here to the right of me. And if you're wondering why we're looking fresh, it's because of our guests. We're rocking that Yalla Detroit brand. Sada got the Philistinis.
Join the movement.
Yes, join the movement. It's no coincidence. We got a movement podcast and Yalla Detroit. The collaboration was meant to be. Of course, you got myself, Omar T. And then to the left of me, you got my sister, Abir Thabit, of course, rocking the gear as well. And then our guest for today is Jeehan Nasir. Go ahead and give her a round of applause. She is the founder, the CEO of Yalla Detroit. She's also a mentor for many high school students, specifically Dearborn High. But, she goes everywhere and does everything. So shout out to Jeehan. She's in the building. She's giving us that nod like, yep, that's me. That's what I do. But before we continue and hear more about Jeehan, I want to say be sure to follow us on all of our socials. You have YouTube, Oz Media, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok under Oz Media. You can listen to our shows later on Apple and Spotify podcasts under Oz Media. If you want to call in, the number is 313-306-1750. Again, it's 313-306-1750. Feel free to call in if you'd like to call in. We love to hear what you have to say. Shout out to the sponsors, the Balkan House, Juice Box, Qahwah House, BC Adhesives, Specialty Medical Center, and Hanley International Academy. Today I actually stopped by Balkan House, gave a shout out to Juma Ekic. Had a great conversation. So we're going to go ahead and give them a shout out, the Balkan House restaurant, and then we're going to officially get this show on the road. So shout out to the Balkan House. You know what, Yusuf, man? I'm in the mood for some Balkan food.
Yeah, man, me too.
Well, there's no better place to go for Balkan than the Balkan House restaurant. The Balkan House restaurant is famous for their doner kebab sandwiches. But did you know that the Balkan House now serves breakfast? Did you also know that all their food is 100% halal? There are currently 2 Balkan House locations, one in Hamtramck and one in Ferndale. But they now also have 2 food trucks, so you can book your next party or event with the Balkan House on wheels. If you're looking for a nice place to eat with friendly service and great prices, look no further than the Balkan House restaurant. All right, with that said, first of all, Jeehan, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you on the show. Jeehan, the people that I love having on the show is when more than one person recommends you to come on the show. That person is doing something special out there, and that's what happened with you, Jeehan. I've gotten numerous of people telling me like, hey, get this Jeehan Nasir lady on your show. She's doing great things in the community. So looking forward to hearing you and hearing what you have to say. First of all, can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and whatever you want to share, growing up and where you're at now in life?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. And thank you for everything that you do, because when I first heard about the podcast, I was very just inspired and just happy that it even existed. I was like, this is great. This is exactly what we need. So thank you for doing this. And thank you for having me. A little bit about myself. I am of Yemeni origin, raised in Southwest Detroit. I work in Dearborn as an educator. I've been an educator for over 15 years in various roles. Brand owner I have 2 major brands. I've dabbled in a lot of other things as well when it comes to business, but focused on 2 brands right now that I'm very passionate about. So I am the founder of Yalla Detroit, as well as Modestia Collection, which actually led to Yalla Detroit. But there's a story behind that. But Yalla Detroit is a fusion of contemporary streetwear and Arabic calligraphy. It was inspired by the beauty and spirit of the city of Detroit and its diversity and multiculturalism. And, people always want to express who they are. That's what streetwear is all about, the 80s and the 90s, within our within many communities, in particular the Black community. It was a way of expression. You express yourself through fashion. And so Yalla Detroit is all about that. It's about expressing and embracing and celebrating your cultural and spiritual roots, as well as, celebrating, other cultures, because we do incorporate, I grew up again in Southwest Detroit, and that is an extremely diverse and beautiful community. And so I just make sure that my collections represent that.
You know, a couple of things. Number one, the Southwest community had a lot of Yemeni growing up over there. I'm starting to learn that, you know, there's a good amount of Yemeni people out there that grew up in that. You know, I don't know if it's still going on. Is that still happening?
I think more so now than
really?
before. I mean, I remember, okay, so for me, that was the 80s. And I believe in this, late 70s, it wasn't the case. I could be wrong. But in the 80s, I know that, there was, I wouldn't say a huge population, but it was a decent amount of diverse Arabs. Like my friends growing up they were Arab of all faiths, but beyond even just, Arabs in the different faiths, you also had, like the Hispanic community, you had Mexican, Puerto Rican, obviously what we kind of know Southwest to be, and it was that and so many other faiths and backgrounds, Romanian, Vietnamese, you name it. I mean, there's so many, and that was the beauty of Southwest. I always would say that was, I saw that mainly in my middle school and high school years, where I felt like it was like a little UN, Nice. And that was the beauty of it. And people, celebrated and embraced each other, and we even saw that within. I remember in school and education, middle school and high school at least, not so much elementary. That was also reflective of the staff. There was representation there, and so that was also another beautiful thing that I think a lot of communities don't always have. Mm-hmm. So I would say like a lot of that has shaped kind of who I am today and how I view the world.
For sure. And Abid, you're rocking one of the hoodies. How you feeling in that hoodie right now?
First of all, do you guys see the calligraphy that's in the shape of the Detroit sign? Like, that's so unique and creative. How did you come up with this design?
So long story, but I mean, like, I'll give you a little bit of the background.
Yeah, give us the background story that you were saying about how both of your businesses, brands. And I want to hear it.
And don't forget to promote, you know what I'm saying? Because there's different, we're wearing different things actually.
Yeah.
Different collections. Abid is wearing the Palestinian collection. What would you say about it? Like 20%? You could tell a little bit more.
So actually for both our brands, Modestia Collection and Yalla Detroit, 20% of our sales, not of our profits, of our sales will go and is going to the Palestinian Children Relief Fund. I feel like when you have a brand, you also have a social responsibility.
100%.
And you have to, it has to be, whatever you do, it has to, there has to be more to it than, the dollar or whatever. You have to want to make an impact and see change. And sometimes people think that, what can we do? We can't do enough. Or they think that, it has to be like some sort of huge thing that they have to do to make a change. But every little thing that you can do, whatever is within your control, is what's going to make a difference, because you multiply that then by 1,000 and, like everyone doing something, and that does have an impact. And so that's where it's like, what can I do right now with where I'm at and what I have? And so that is something that I've incorporated for both my brands. And obviously there's other pieces as well when it comes to education and awareness. And that's a big piece of our platform and our brand with Yalla Detroit. We always say it's more than just a brand, it's a movement. So
going back to what Sara was saying, how did those two brands, collide?
Yeah, so my number one collection at the time, I want to say this was maybe 2 years ago for Modestia Collection, my hijab and neck scarf, head wrap, turban brand. Again, it was that same message of like my inspiration of like wearing the hijab when I was in high school, and what it meant to me and how I was embraced by so many people in the community, and because there weren't many people wearing the hijab at the time in Southwest. And so it was different. But that led me to create Modestia Collection. Within Modestia Collection, my number one seller was the Detroit turbans. And I was speaking to a person who then became my mentor, Omar, famous comedian. Shout out to Omar Reagan from...
Oh, okay. You said comedian and you said Omar, so I felt...
Omar Reagan from Hollywood. So we were talking, and he's also from Detroit, and he was like, this is your number one collection. I said, yep, it is. And he says, well, have you thought of streetwear? And so then from there we kind of brainstormed, came up with the name Yalla Detroit, and in terms of the design, I think I had went through over maybe 150 iterations till I finally came up with this one. So it wasn't like an easy, like a one and done. It's kind of like you just keep coming back to the drawing board until you find the design that you're like, that's it, And then from there, you just perfect it and you continue to also innovate, come up with new and different creative ideas that are still connected to that original design. And it spells out, and it's a story too. It's like, because it was just like with the hijab, for example, people are like, what is that, on your head? What does that mean? What does that color mean? And that one's always the funny one. I'll always sometimes just make up something like, oh, this today means, like if I wear blue, this is what it means, Oh my God, and I'm like, no, and then I'm like, I'm just kidding, But when it comes to people come up and just say, oh, Detroit, they'll know right off the bat it's, this is a Detroit brand and it stands for Detroit. But then when I actually tell them that spells out Detroit in Arabic, they're like, that is dope.
Yeah.
That is dope.
No, this is fire.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You say wallah.
I didn't notice it.
Oh my God.
Listen, let me tell you
I'm not
something.
related to them.
No. Let me tell you guys something. I am just so Allah. Like, I don't really look into things. Unfortunately, I'm not. I'm just like, yeah. Like, I see, oh, it's cute. And I run it. Like, she knows, like, even planning parties.
Every single detail. I love a play with words. I love, I love that. Like, it's so creative to me.
It's very nice. The only thing I feel like I'm like, because I don't consider myself creative. The only thing I think I'm creative is I do enjoy, like, outfits and stuff like that. Like, I like fashion. And I also like lyricism. Other than that, I don't pay attention to anything, but it's so cool.
No, this is awesome.
It's mashallah. And then the way you decided to put
so well.
Arabic alphabet with the right, like, I don't know. It takes a creative mind.
And then with that also we have our sort of like the bigger vision and we actually have some of that, and we've done those when we do like private shows and things like that, where we will within different cities. So, for example, Houston and Dallas and Chicago, and we've even done some things for. Sometimes it's like it's a city, sometimes it's a state, sometimes it's a capital. I mean, we even got things when you talk about Japan, when you talk about just various cities like Manama, Doha. So we have designs for sort of all of the major cities with huge Muslim or Arab populations. So we have a lot of those designs, and
with the same calligraphy kind of into their
same
logo
kind of
in a
idea
way?
incorporated. Yep.
Wow.
And so we've saw like a huge interest and demand. We just haven't like rolled that out completely, but that's the bigger vision. It's called Yalla Worldwide.
Beautiful.
Yalla Worldwide. But Yalla Detroit is like, that's where it all started, because that's Detroit. Detroit is the city of like innovation and creativity and just everything, I would say, beautiful.
I don't think Detroit gets enough recognition.
Yeah, in general. Yeah, I agree. It only gets recognition when people want it to, But it's like, no, I think like I keep hearing, oh, Detroit's back. Detroit. I said it's always been here.
Yeah,
it's always been here. Where you didn't want to see it,
But making a comment back to Southwest, I could probably say Southwest has the most best like authentic food, like from all those races you said. Like their Hispanic food is the best. They have Detroit 75 over there too.
Oh, yeah. Amazing
so, like
people, amazing food.
If I want like kind of like a homemade, type of food, I definitely go to Southwest.
Yeah, I agree.
And so going off of that, of what you were saying, I know we can't mention too many collabs happening in the future, but maybe some collabs that have happened in the past, or any collab you can share with us. Can you share with us some of the collabs that you've had so far with Yalla Detroit?
So I'm sure, like, I know I've done some shows with, it was an event with the Pistons, I want to say 2 years ago. That's actually, that was my very first event with Yalla Detroit. That was kind of like the proof of concept.
How did you guys get to conversation?
That one was, so I actually went through a cohort, Tech Town. And also, I think with that one in particular, had to have been maybe a former student, someone who had, I think it was a former student who had told me about that event happening. And so, we kind of reached out to them and they were just like, yeah, sure. And so we did that event. It was like a holiday event, I believe. So we did that. And then so the other event we did, I want to say it was through the Reconnect conference. So it's a conference that happens every year, Islamic conference here in Michigan. So we did that. Those were our two big shows, kind of like, okay, let's, see, how people are going to react. And people loved it. They loved it. And every collection that we've came out with since, our very first supporters have continued to like be with us and they want more, and they want to, continue with us on this journey. So just have to say I'm like very grateful for that. Also, Tech Town, it's just an amazing organization with some great mentorship. Shout out to Faris Alemi, Christina Devlin, two amazing people. And mentorship is extremely important for everyone, no matter what it is you're doing. And those are people that I look up to, and so many more that I've met since. I can't even Madeline Maher, Bilal Saeed, so many people that I would say like I learn from them and just, kind of watch what they do. It's not even like that you have to talk to them or get advice from them often, but just sometimes even just observing what they're doing and maybe asking them questions here and there, that sometimes it just will keep you moving and going, and that's inspiration there.
Yeah, always learning, and always have a learning mindset. When you do that, whatever it may be, you just feel like it's like you fed your brain some, how we exercise our bodies. It's also like exercising our brains, and it always helps and benefits. So, with what you got going on with your entrepreneurship, being a mentor, for students, and most importantly, being a mother, of your children, I guess what would be like the most difficult part about juggling all those things, or what is the hardest part for you to juggle all those things all at once, So
I think I used to feel intense guilt of like, oh, am I doing enough for my own children? Because I think as educators, a lot of us will say this, we dedicate and devote so much time to our students that sometimes we like say, well, have I done enough with my own children? And so there was always that kind of guilt. But I think now with a lot of communication and transparency with my children, things like I don't feel that anymore. They're very supportive. Like I usually take them with me wherever I need to go. They're involved in terms of like my business. Like I'll say like, come on, just join me. You want to like hang out? Let's make this a thing. Come with me to the pop-up. Let's do this, let's do that. And they do. And they enjoy it, and they're learning, and sometimes they don't want to do it, but I'm like, that's cool too, but the communication and just for them to see kind of your why and the impact that you have, and then also making sure that you do dedicate some time for them. So like I try at least once a week to just give them some undivided attention. That's I think that's important in the communication piece, as long as everything is communicated. And when it comes to education, it's very hard. It's not like a 9-to-5 job, I have former students I still talk to, just, hey, where are you at? What you doing? Sometimes they reach out, hey, I need support, and I'm there for them. Like, you don't just, like, it's...
Especially with what you do.
Yeah.
It goes past high school.
Yeah. Yep, that's true.
Yeah.
And even as an educator too, I mean, it was that way too, but yeah, I would say even more so now. That is, as soon as they kind of know what I've been doing lately and stuff, they say like, yeah, we definitely got to talk. But yeah, like, I mean, it's, time management is something, it's a work in progress, because sometimes I'll pencil in everything. Like I'll go into my calendar, should I say, and I'll do like time blocking, right? Like make sure that every minute is accounted for. But sometimes you can plan all you want to plan and be as detailed as you can, and things don't work out that way. You create some buffers in between, each thing, but it doesn't always work out. But as long as the transparency is there when it comes to your children, and just making sure they know your why, and and at the end of the day, hey, this is also for you guys too, and you want to be that positive role model. They're understanding. And with students, I think the difficult thing that I had as a teacher. With this role, it's a little easier. But as a teacher, I was just like answering emails whenever, weekends, and then it's like the checking of papers is never ending, and, you give it your like complete all. Within this role, I still find myself working after hours and doing things and planning and, all of that, but it's not, I can regulate it a little easier. like with, hey, like, you know, like schedule an appointment, do this, do that, you know, kind of those things. So it's not perfect, but it's, I guess I would say
It's flowing.
it's flowing. Yeah.
What are your thoughts? You want to share anything?
Listen, you're talking and I'm like, you're speaking to the choir. You know, I feel like what helped me the most was, especially in the beginning of my career, I started off as a para and I was going to school the same time I was working. So like, imagine I'm working and then right after school I'm going to class, and it's like, when do I have time for my son? So it was a blessing to be able to work at the same school as my son. So I got to see him in school. I got to monitor him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
I forgot about that. Yeah. Those are the perks of you get to, and I'm not a helicopter parent, but they're there and you feel like a sense of reassurance and, you know, yeah, that's
100%. And then you get to see them, like, 'cause especially if you're a busy mom. And I remember I used to have Sundays, but like as Sunday, but
I
you know,
love that.
get
I
it,
love
yeah.
that, yeah.
So I used to have those when he was younger, but now as he got older, and then you know when COVID happened, I graduated, didn't have class, so I started a business. I have a decor business on the side, and I used to tag him along too. I used to pay him too.
Yep.
Used to do the pickups,
they're
drop-offs,
gonna
set up.
negotiate that. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
what percentage are we getting? I'm like, excuse me?
Yep. You know, so I mean, subhanAllah, like that ended up being, you know, like you said, some days he hated it, some days, you know, he was okay with it. And then eventually got to the point where I switched schools. So it was a transition. I went from first to fifth. I had to slow down. I had to put a pause on the business because that's not, you know, number one. You know what I mean? Yeah. So as a parent, you do have to figure out like the timing. And I noticed I was losing myself. So certain things like now it's like, okay, now we got to focus on him. He's in high school. And to be honest, like you working there made me feel a lot more comfortable because it's the first time ever I didn't have someone that I knew, you know, in the school. So, you know, it's priorities. It's picking up, you know, what you can take and what you can't. And alhamdulillah, like it's definitely, like you said, it's a flow. You gotta figure it out. It's a current and you're either gonna ride it or get, you know.
Sucked in.
Yeah.
Sarah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think about Chico all day when I'm at work. I feel guilty when I stay out late.
Chico's her cat, by the way.
Yeah,
everyone,
yeah,
if those
Chico's
that
my
don't know.
cat. And I mean, obviously, no, but I'm serious. I do feel guilty, but I could only imagine when it comes like to your own children, and especially being single mothers and stuff like that. Like like I said, I could only imagine, and I hope that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is always with you guys.
Well, this is a great time to transition. Before we talk about mentoring, we're going to give a shout out to Specialty Medical Center. Yusuf, shout out to Specialty Medical Center. 2 locations, one in Dearborn, one in Sterling Heights. So we're going to give them a shout out, and then we're going to now transition to mentoring and hear about what Jeehan has to say about that and her role and what she does with students. So go ahead, Yusuf. It didn't play. It's acting dumb. All right, well, shout out to Specialty Medical Center. I'll even read it off because we love them so much. So shout out to Specialty Medical Center. It's a medical center that prides itself on patient care and rehabilitation services. Their primary focus is developing a customized treatment plan unique to each individual patient's needs. Their center offers a full range of patient care from diagnostic testing, pain management, physical therapy, regenerative medicine solutions, and surgical care. Like I said, there's 2 locations, one in Michigan Avenue and also one in Sterling Heights. So shout out to Specialty Medical Center and everyone over there. Yusuf, you know, we appreciate them and their support. With that said, Yusuf, we're ready to get the show back on the road, get it rolling. So, you know, Jeehan kind of talked about, you know, Yalla Detroit and how it got started. But now we also want to talk about mentorship, all right? So if you can also let people know, like, what exactly your role is at Dearborn High. But then also tell us, because it's obvious, right? Mentorship is so important. We've had so many conversations with so many different educators and other people who are in that kind of field that say, you know, it's the key to our youth. It's, you know, if we care about their futures, every youth should have a mentor. So why is mentorship so important in your eyes, Jeehan?
I mean, beyond obviously the research stating how important it is, like we said, like I see the effects of mentorship, like I see it, you know, I see it within the work, I see it within the students, I see their transformation, and it's profound. Like every student, I mean, like if we just kind of think back, because sometimes I have to like just stop and think back of what it was like to be a teenager and what it was like for, you know, some of my friends and others, you know, at that age. It was not easy. It wasn't easy. You know, maybe for some of us it was, and for others, maybe not so much. But for those that were able to navigate that experience with less challenges, I guess you would say, or with less anxiousness, it was because they had a mentor. And it doesn't have to be a mentor in a formal sense. You know, like I said, it could just be somebody you're checking in with, somebody that cares about you, somebody that's listening. And so I think that's, it's extremely important. And also, if you strive to be somewhere or you envision yourself in a particular way, the goal there is to find a mentor that is where you would one day want to be. Mm-hmm. And so that's, even for me, I tell my students, my children, I tell them, like, that's the case for me. But, always make sure you're adding something of value. You're not just there, and taking and whatever. It's, what can I provide also for the person? How can I help? How can I support in one way or another? But students need it. And I think it's even harder now than ever. Like, we didn't have the pressures of social media. We didn't have what these kids are going through and what they're seeing on the daily. I guess we were, in a sense, a lot more lucky and a lot more sheltered in certain ways. But social media is tough,
I agree.
Sada, what are your thoughts on mentorship?
Unfortunately, we didn't have specifically like a mentor in our high school specifically, but we did have like a student counselor. And honestly, she made me want to go into student counseling. I'm just lazy to get my master's. But like, if I would get my master's, it would definitely be student counseling. And she really, really did help me go through my high school years way more smoother than it could have been. And like, thanks to her, I, was good on my grades, and I, was getting my stuff together. So I think it's very, very important. Whether it's someone that is like, especially like freshmen when they're like lost, and then even in between in high school, like when you're a junior and like you're not the same person that you were and when you were a freshman, or you change your mind of what you want to be or whatever it may be. It's really good to be have a mentor, be close with that mentor, and be able to like kind of navigate life.
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
And a lot of the students, their first generation, or they don't really have that person to look up to, like their parents, they just survived, you know what I mean? They didn't have a career. They don't know nothing about college. They don't have any older siblings or anyone that they can look up to, It's so helpful. And honestly, having someone believe in you that, because like I'm gonna be real, I didn't know I was gonna go to college. It was like, back then it was kind of difficult or whatever. And my teachers were my mentors. My counselor, I don't even know if I even had it. French year was still new. I was the first graduating class. But my teachers, Miss Madden, Fatma Fadak, I work with one of the teachers that I looked up to now. Like, it's crazy. And I don't know if but Miss Madden, like, she used to always tell me, you're going to be a teacher. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to go to college. Like, I used to like have that mentality inside of my head. And if it wasn't for them, like, wallah, they believed in me more than I believed in myself. Yeah. And it's just having that person that you can open up to, and they kind of know you sometimes better than you know yourself. Like, you would be good at this. They unlock certain skills that you don't even know that you had. And even as an adult, like as a grown woman, like honestly, whenever I see different career paths that I want to go to, I'm like, I'm going to hang out with this person. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're going to, like, I'm going to pick up what I need to pick up, to get to where I need to be. Yeah. So it's important in all stages of your life.
No, for sure.
You, Ahmad?
What was that?
Mentorship, like, what?
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think, especially no offense, I don't want to say that one group deserves more than or needs it more, but I think boys definitely need it more. And my next question is like, it's about basically of like, what do you guys think that they need to be mentored on the most? And for me, it's like, with boys, they need guidance on how to carry themselves, just in general in life. You know what I mean? I think like, the idea of like being a gentleman is just lost.
Like character.
Yeah, character is so important for boys. Like how you should carry yourself. How do you treat women? How do you, praying when it comes to like Islamic values. And that kind of stuff. How to be a leader. How to be a leader. There's so many followers in this world. These like so many boys nowadays are guys, even men, adults now. I mean, they're becoming adults. These boys that we're calling boys are now becoming adults. At least age wise. So it's like I feel like they just need it a lot more because the people that are supposed to be there for them are either too busy, or a lot of households are single parent households nowadays, unfortunately. So, you know, that mentorship, I think, like, especially like with boys, man, they just need people that like they can just go to talk to. And then believe it or not, like, you'll be surprised. Like, you know, a lot of these boys, you know, they don't really hear that, you know, hey, we believe in you. You know, they don't hear that, you know, hey, the encouragement that they probably need, where, you know, someone's telling them every single day or at least once a week, or like, hey, you're doing a great job, keep it up, you know. And so, like, for them, when they hear it, it's like, it's weird, you know, as guys, we get weird when some stuff like that happen. But I'm gonna be real with you, I haven't met one person who deep down says, like, you know, they don't appreciate that, because they know deep down that they do, and it can change the outcome of their future if they had somebody that was in their life.
I want to say something. I was watching this one video, and it was this older lady talking about friendship, the friendship between men together and the friendship between females. And she's like, men, when they sit down and they hang out, they don't do open heart to hearts. They're watching a game, they're looking forward. They don't even look at each other in the eye. You know what I'm saying? But women, when we're like, listen, girl, you know, we're like looking at each other, girl, let me tell you, you know, like, give me some advice. Like, we would be more vulnerable with each other.
Yeah,
you
for
know
sure.
What I'm saying? So I feel like, do you kind of agree?
No, 100%. 100.
Men
Like,
are
I'm
not
gonna be honest with
vulnerable.
you, I don't even go into a situation when I hang out with guys to look for vulnerability. You know what I'm saying?
like, good
like, yeah,
time,
like
good vibes,
we're here to watch football,
and we're the
and that's
complete
it.
opposites. Like, oh, when we're filmed out, okay, come over. Let's
Yeah,
watch
like,
the
we
movie,
like that
let's
heart
talk.
to hearts. We
Yeah,
like the, you
let's
know,
go get coffee.
And that's why I feel like it's difficult for them to seek mentorship, to be real with someone, to feel that vulnerability of seeking someone's advice and actually taking it, and, like, you know what I'm saying?
No, and
So-
it's definitely something.
So
that,
sometimes, like, it takes like a good wife, you know,
Yeah,
that
for
you
sure.
can talk to. But what if you're not married?
no, that's true.
Then you're kind of lost.
It's
Or
tough.
you don't have sisters. You don't have a mom, or you don't have. That's why it's very important. Like, people need to just let go of that pride and reach out to their families, their moms, their sisters. Like, you know, I don't know. Like,
And they have to
and their
learn
friends.
Yeah, and I think they have to learn how to, like, vocalize and how to, like, you know, just talk about emotions, because it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
I think even for, you know, females,
Yeah.
and in particular, if we're looking at the high school setting, that's not an easy thing to talk about or
High
just
schoolers
to
are mean.
express. Yeah. I mean, but beneath, like, that, like, I always say, like, sometimes when they're angry, I'm like, that's a secondary emotion. And what do you mean? And then we start talking. I said, there's something there. There's more to it
Yeah,
than
for
anger.
sure.
You know, like, are you sad about something? Are you, you know, whatever. Sometimes it's they can't vocalize it, but if we can get them to start writing about it, that might be easier. You know, so it's like tools. You know, what tools can we give them so that they can get really good at reflecting on how they feel, and, you know, how to express that. You know, so, like, what tools, and then also for them to be okay to, like, that, you know, seeking help is okay. Like, when we look at it, just generally speaking, like, I think they say the rates of depression are much higher in men.
Yeah.
You know, and that's because of, like, again, they don't express their emotions. You know, they're not, you know, some people say not wired that way, but I mean, I think outside of education, if we look at this from an Islamic perspective, something that exists. When we look at our Prophet as a role model, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as a role model, he was a very expressive person. You know, when his sons passed, he cried. When he you know, the Sahaba, he expressed his emotions and how he felt, and vice versa. And these were the strongest of men. I mean, they're warriors, right? And so if they're able to do that, what has happened culturally, and this is not just even within the Arab culture, but just generally speaking, where men don't feel like it's okay, or that it's a sign of weakness to express their emotions in one way or another.
And the sad thing is that I feel like with social media, the wrong mentors are out there, like Andrew Tate or whatever, like brainwashing.
I
you
know.
know,
Wrong on
men.
depends on whose
It
opinion.
depends on who's
No,
opinion.
certain. I mean, everybody has bad and good. Like, he's not 100% good, and some of his stuff, okay, whatever. But still, it's not like a human being that can talk back to you. You know what I'm saying? You're watching videos of this, and you don't know anything. Like,
I'm gonna say.
Let me stop.
So I'm gonna say this though. I know you, and there's a lot of people who think this. I like to look at both sides of the story, and I'm not promoting one or the other, but I'm just saying that I have, from many students, have heard that they have changed their life, and I'm not promoting this or that, but that they have listened to a particular person sometimes
Andrew
and
Tate.
many times they've mentioned Andrew Tate, and it's not the stuff that maybe the media wants you to see or
Yeah.
he was. But a lot of the positives, and they say like, yeah, we've made a difference in our lives, and it's not, like I said, it's not that other stuff that the snippets of what people have shown
Right.
about him, and I think that's
He's
the
not
thing
all
about
bad, but-
yeah, no one's all bad, right? And people evolve and change and things like that. But as long as they have someone that they're looking up to that is having a positive impact on them, I mean, that's what I want to see, and I don't think it. You know, and that's just the important piece there is like, are they, you know, making those changes? Are they progressing? Are they reflecting? Do they feel, you know, how, like, hey, how do you feel like between, you know, last year and this year? Well, you know, things have gotten better, you know, and a lot of times also within education, at least at the high school level, there's more, there's a little bit more males. Still, I would say it's a predominantly female industry or sector, which is, I mean, it poses its challenges, right, for males. And also, when you look at things culturally, it's a predominantly Caucasian industry, you know, female Caucasian. And sometimes that poses issues for Black and brown students, and, you know, where, like, they don't feel seen, they don't feel heard. Obviously not always, because there's some amazing, you know, teachers out there of all, you know, backgrounds. But representation does matter, and for someone to have at least one role model can, like, make a difference.
No, for sure.
No, just going back to what Ibra said about social media and mentors on social media, like, that is true. Like, there's a lot of, you know, influencers and all that stuff, even coming down to, like, buying products. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's so tough to kind of, like, navigate even as a 26-year-old, you know what I mean? Imagine a 16-year-old or a 12-year-old that's on TikTok and having their favorite mentor that's, you know, 45, and, you know, they're in a different lifespan, they're in a different tax bracket and all that stuff. Like, it's tough.
You know, I'm
Makes me
sorry.
be afraid to
I'm like just kind of switching it up, but like coaches are great mentors. I feel
yeah.
Of
like,
course.
you know, if there's a father figure, uncles are great mentors. Like I could see my son, like, I don't know if he opens up as much as I want him to open up, but looking up wise, seeing positive role models, it's been like alhamdulillah for that, because you know I can't do everything, right?
Right. No, we can't. And that's another thing is like I think on the female side, we kind of want to be there for everyone and, you know, all of this. And that's just not the case. And someone else might not, you know, I might not be able to give them what they're, you know, looking for, because I might not understand things in the way that they understand things.
That's why they say it takes a village.
Yes, for sure.
No, for sure. And then going off of that, you know, you are a career academy lead teacher. So, you know, maybe you could share how when students come up to you, like, what advice would you give to adults when students maybe want to be mentored by them, or when they do come up to you and asking for mentorship or looking for mentorship? Like, how should adults handle the situation? I mean, I know each situation is different, but do you have like any general tips for adults?
So like you do have like those, you know, structured, obviously, like mentorship programs and things through organizations like Access, LAHC, AAYSP, and so many others. There's so many that we can name. But like for, like we said, just I look up to somebody, I want to, you know, be like them. You know, sometimes just say, hey, can I ask you some questions, you know, or, you know, what advice? It doesn't even have to be, like I said, a formal, can you be my mentor kind of thing. It can just be you. And this is something that a lot of teenagers are not comfortable doing. So I always, on my end, will say, no, feel free to just pop in for like a minute. Like, you don't need to schedule an appointment. Like, yeah, those appointments are separate things. But if you just want to check in with me, feel free to check in with me, you know. And I tell them, do the same with, you know, with your teachers and with other people that you look up to outside of, you know, the school, you know. So, I mean, just don't overthink it. Just if you look up to someone, just ask them, learn a little bit about them. People are happy to help. People are happy to answer questions you may have. People are happy to tell their story. So another thing we do is we bring in a lot of speakers, very intentional about who you bring in, making sure that, again, there's a good diverse representation within, you know, within those career chats and the speaker events that we do. and career fairs. Again, like ethnicity wise, like race, obviously, religion, gender, making sure that it is a diverse group so that every single student can kind of see themselves, there. And so, yeah, just ask questions. People are more than happy to help. Yeah. Like we had a lot of people from the community. We had the National Arab Orchestra come out just last week. Shout out to Michael Brahim, Sherry Richards, and Hassan Melhem who set it all up. And people like Omar Jassim and so many other great people within the community, within and even outside of the community, that are there to talk to students and just feel free to ask questions. Sometimes students are just they kind of overthink things. At that age, you kind of tend to do. Mm-hmm. What is someone going to think about me? Am I
or is this a stupid question?
Is this a stupid question? Is it
no
this
stupid questions, guys.
Like as adults, we're here to help you. We're here to guide you. If you need some of that guidance, like again, check-ins, whatever it may be. If it's anything outside of that like structured thing, or if it's like a continuous thing, I always say make sure that parents are aware of who obviously their mentor is and who they're talking to. Mm-hmm. So that's very important. Maybe trying to keep things through email, things like that, or through like a structured program. Like you said, coaches, that's a great area if they play sports. And then just within the community, like just ask people questions, just strike up conversations. Like there's a lot to learn, and so yeah, just feel free to do that. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. Just want to throw it out there, a couple of comments. First of all, someone said Lions are bringing Detroit back. Definitely, this is back when we were talking about Detroit. And Caltrate says, Salam, how's everybody? And then Rami Gaber tried to spam the chat. Old student Rami Gaber texted Mr. Thabit like 50 times. So shout out to Yusuf. He ended that off. But we are going to give a shout out to Hanley, since, that is a former Hanley student. It's not a thing, so I got to read it off again. So shout out to Hanley International Academy. Yusuf, you can at least play the photo right quick while I read off. Hanley International Academy is a school that treats every student and staff like their own family. It's even in their vision statement, educating your child like our own. The academics there are great. The athletics there are great. Thank you to the staff and administrators at Hanley for educating our leaders of tomorrow. Location is 2400 Denton Street, Hamtramck, Michigan, 48212. Abir, do you miss Hanley a little bit?
I do miss it. I'm not gonna lie. I love the people that I work with right now. Everybody's so great. Everybody's so kind. But I miss the families. I miss the kids. They all knew me. Like here, like at Salina, I feel like I have to like prove myself all the time. I always have to prove myself. Alhamdulillah, more kids are getting to know me and I'm getting cooler. But like I'm like, everybody knew me. You know what I'm saying? And not as popular apparently as Ahmad. Ahmad is the one that always gets the shout outs.
Yeah, we haven't had a Miss Thabit shout out. Like,
I worked with younger kids. I worked with first graders. They're not on YouTube yet,
maybe they are trying to type Miss, but they put an R.
No, but a lot of my old coworkers send me videos of everybody, and it's cute. And I can't wait for the day
I don't get no videos.
We're off, like at my new job, I'm off, so I can go, and then they're in school, so I can go and like spend the whole day with them. Because I just miss the kids. Like I'm telling you, like I scout them when they're in preschool. I mess with them because when I'm in first, I make sure they know me, and then when they're in kindergarten, I mess with them more. Yeah. And then by the time they're with me, they already like me. Yeah. And that takes it away, So that's what I've been doing now. But
so, Jeehan, as a mentor yourself, what are some of the positive results you see in students when they have the right mentorship in their life? Like, what are some of the things that you see?
Like, again, it was the same thing that I have to tell them, look, guys, at my age right now, I have mentors that I look up to, because if I could avoid any things that I don't need to go through, any, challenges, any mistakes, if I don't make those, it's going to help me get to where I need to faster. Yep. So I'll tell them the same thing, the things that I've seen. I mean, just the again, level of confidence, clarity, intentional planning. Something that we always talk about is backwards design. And if they don't know in terms of career and college what that looks like, I tell them that's completely normal. There are people who are 30 and 40 switching careers, who are unsure, or just their life, has changed. And so they're, is a completely new trajectory there. But when we do that, we start with, okay, what lifestyle do you want for yourself? What lifestyle what's the ideal lifestyle you envision? And that they can answer. Yeah, that they can answer, because it's like, all right, some people say, I want this type of car. I want this type of home. I want a family. I want to travel. And others will say, no, I, want this, that. I like to work by myself. I don't like to work, with a bunch of people. And then we look at strengths and their aptitudes, their natural aptitudes. We look at their personality, obviously, it's a part of that. And from there, we start kind of like planning. We do some career assessments or aptitude assessments. For example, at Dearborn High, we do use science, and also at the other Dearborn public schools, at the high schools, they do use science. At the middle school, I believe they do Zello. But there's a bunch. I don't think, it's a tool of many tools. And we use multiple tools to kind of help them see where their strengths are. And, hey, what kind of classes have you always excelled in, when you're trying? Because sometimes they don't try, but there's a strength there, but they just never applied themselves. And when they do apply themselves and they see where their strengths are, then we start to like plan that further. And then we get students in 9th grade who kind of like, that's another thing I share with them, like, okay, here's a form, dream colleges. And not just colleges, like just understanding there's more than one way to live the life you want to live. Like it might mean college, it might mean trade school, apprenticeships, like just 2 weeks ago, I want to say, or maybe it was last week was apprenticeship week here in Michigan, extremely lucrative careers. You come out with zero debt, and then advance, many opportunities for growth. So you're a little bit ahead of the game. So depending on the career path that you want to take and the career you want, there are many options. It's not like, college is one way, but there are so many other ways. There's certifications, stackable certifications. There's, you want to do cybersecurity, you can get, you can have that done within a year. And then if you wanted to continue. And hey, sometimes your employer might even pay for you to go back to go to college and get a degree. But you have the certifications, you have the skills. Like you don't have to wait. That's another thing we always talk about. When students come and see me, I say, like, if you're really passionate about this, you don't need to wait. You have like everything like at the tip of your fingers nowadays. Yeah. Like we didn't, necessarily have that back in the day. They have that. So I'm like, you can get ahead of the game.
And believe it or not, like I see a lot of like talk about skill trades, because with AI and everything, a lot of jobs are not going to be, there. And like, you can't have technology build stuff or, so, not build stuff, you know what I mean? Like a skill.
Well, that's one of them, too.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, there's like you said, the different types of AI. I was just at a workshop Friday at Eastern, and one of the guys was talking about how in order for him to grow, he felt like he was shrinking himself staying in Michigan, and so he moved to Silicon Valley, and from there was connected with a lot of people. Obviously the importance of network, your network, and wind up building a productivity app and selling it for, I think it was over $100 million, and then going on to build another product, which was like I think a 3D printing machine, but in a particular industry, and that's now worth billions. But like I'll tell students, like, he did have a 4-year degree, but he could have still got to where he got without that, but with more certifications and hands-on experience and and there are also a lot of founders of many startups, very successful startups, that will tell you the same. They were like, if we actually applied to the company that we own, that we've, sold and maintained, we wouldn't, just looking at that piece of paper, we wouldn't be hired, but we were the ones who came up with this, just because sometimes, like, that's another thing I tell them. I'm like, you just got to go for it. Like, if you feel like you could learn it in a short period of time, and when it comes to like, certain careers and things like that, don't limit yourself, like, especially when you're in your early 20s, because I also help, like students that are there, and I'm like, just go for it. If you can get hands-on experience, if you can get certifications, if you can jump into it, don't overthink it. Like half the stuff on a job posting, you're probably going to be using like 15 to 20%. 15 to 20% of that is what you're probably going to be doing.
That's true.
And then the other stuff can be learned with time.
I was just having this conversation with my cousin, and I'm like, my job specifically, I did not need a degree for it. Like, I genuinely think that I did not need a degree for it. And even because I do like group therapy, and I not a therapist, and I do great, and I've just picked up so much skills that I'm just like, I hate that I have to get my master's to be a therapist when that's something I feel like if you just give me a book, a criteria, I'll be able to do it. You get what I'm saying? So like I was telling her, I was like, I feel like most of these jobs, they don't need a degree, but they just make you, they slap you that you have to go inside, to go into university, pay all this money for funsies.
I think that's what a lot of kids are now. Like I feel like colleges have seen the decline, in applications and things like that, and people wanting to go to college, and that's probably one of the reasons why. But I think like also there are, like I tell students, if you go ahead, do this, pursue a non-traditional route, and then you might change your mind after that and decide to go, but it's getting paid for by your employer. Hey, that's great, because the fear sometimes is the student debt, right? And loans and things like that. And I just personally would say, like, try to avoid at all costs, unless like for a fact that the career you're going into, like, you're going to get that, you're going to be able to pay that off.
Yeah.
And not in like 10, 15, 20 years, like I just think about that. And for me, because I work 7 days a week, making sure that I didn't take out one student loan. That was just how I did it.
For you.
It wasn't easy. Like you have no social life, that your whole life is school and work. But I just couldn't like justify like loans. And then when I even started my master's, I remember I did a year paid cash, like I want to say $15,000, $16,000. And then said to myself, one, I haven't learned anything new. I already knew this because I actually already worked within the library system. So it was for library information science at Wayne State. And I was like, one, I've already done this. I know the ins and outs. Two, I have yet to learn anything new. And then three, is there a return on investment? And there wasn't. I'm like, I'm not going to get paid any more than I am already as an educator.
Yeah.
Maybe within education, there's a little bit of a boost for having your master's, right? But there wasn't going to be a significant amount that could have justified that 30, I don't know what it was, 34, 35,000 dollars. It just made no sense to me. I'm like, I could, invest in something else, business, do something else. But I mean, like, I was like, I can't. It didn't make sense to me. So that's something too, is to look at the numbers. And but if they really want to go and it's important to them and it's a career that requires college, it's okay. What opportunities are out there as well in terms of scholarships, grants, financial aid? A lot of universities nowadays do have a lot more merit-based scholarships, a lot more scholarship opportunities and grants and things like that. And even looking at that within the community, what are some community organizations that are helping out? And there are plenty. And I would say the Detroit, Dearborn area, there's a lot of amazing, organizations out there supporting high school students wanting to go to college.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Ahmed Soba, student of yours.
Yeah.
He said, Ms. Jeehan's my teacher. I'm a barber.
Yeah, Baby Soap.
Baby Soap.
Shout out to Baby Soap.
That's what she said. Say Baby Soap. I see you with the iPad. I mean, I see you too. I was just wanted to respectfully let Ms. Nasir to finish what she was going to say, though. So speaking of high school students, my question to you is like, what are the most effective ways for high school students to prepare for after graduation, even if maybe they're not going to college? Or I guess, what are some effective ways for high school students while they're still in high school to prepare for after graduation?
So education, awareness, just being aware, like that, look, these years are going to fly by, because this is the thing, they never think it's going to fly by. And I used to teach ninth grade. I taught that for many years, and I would tell them, guys, it will fly by. In a blink of an eye, you're going to be a senior. And then they come back and see me as seniors, they're like, you were right. I was like, I know. But like as a ninth grader, and even prior to that, and even as adults and parents, we should give them as many opportunities to explore various career paths. They should ask people, like, hey, like they see, like you're talking to your pediatrician, like ask them, what do you think? I make sure my daughters do that. And it's funny, like they've said, like, PA is the way to go. If you're interested in the sciences and you're good with this, be a physician's assistant. Like when you look at this, and, each individual will tell you, and, and a PA will tell you this, and, someone in the financial industry will tell you, everyone will tell you a little bit about themselves. So I feel like to explore, to shadow when possible, with parents' consent. Obviously, I think parents need to know where, what's happening and who they're shadowing. A a lot of people are open to allowing those opportunities, for job shadowing. Because then you'll either see yourself or not in that field. Because you have people who are 2-3 years into college. They finally shadow and they say, no,
not for me.
It's not for
Yeah.
me. Yeah. And so the earlier they can do that, the better. Because, it's just at least they're eliminating and saying that's not it. And they're getting one step closer to finding the thing that they do want to do. And again, that goes back to also looking at their strengths, their interests, their personality, and lifestyle that they want. They want all of those things, factoring all of that in. So as many opportunities, if they can do as many of those things as possible, that would be great. We bring in a lot of speakers. We do quite a few career fairs in the lunchroom and also career chats. Sometimes those are individualized with just a specific number of students that are invited to that. Just making sure they talk to their counselors, talk to their career person. There's me. There's another wing, Risa counselor at Dearborn High and at the other high schools in Dearborn. And at most high schools, Wayne Risa has a huge initiative in terms of like career readiness and awareness. So does the state of Michigan. And so the opportunities are there. You just got to talk to adults. You just got to learn and be open-minded, because sometimes they come in with like some, myths or stereotypes about particular careers. So no, you got to let go of all that and just see if you would be interested in this. And a lot of times, other than just the traditional careers, most students don't know about anything else. It's doctor, lawyer, teacher, the typical. I'm like, there's thousands of careers within the health industry. There's even within education. You don't have to, if you, as an educator, I tell them, I remember back in the day, I think it was my second year of teaching, and New York Life and all these insurance companies were calling me, we need educators. We need people who are able to break information down. We're going to give this bonus. We're going to give that. So again, transferable skills, like understanding that that's a thing, Sometimes they don't see that. They think like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. I'm like, no, you can do so many other things with those skills. So, and like I said, just sometimes they just don't know. And they're just stuck on that because it's scary to venture out and do something different that someone else hasn't done. A lot of times they choose their career based on my uncle, my friend's dad, or so-and-so, my friend's mom, my aunt, whatever. My older sister's doing this, and so I'm doing this. Because, again, there's comfort and safety, right? But it might not be the thing that they really want. And so it's like, don't be afraid. It's completely normal. I know people who are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who are making career changes. But if you can figure out earlier what you want to do and what's out there, that's better.
I feel like at one point there was a lot of people pushing pharmacy.
Oh, yeah. And that's why we now have it's such an oversaturated field. And back in the day, it was great. Now it's not a bad thing. But and that's another thing, is looking at each state and what the demands and what the outlook is there. Yeah. And also what you mentioned with AI. What effect, because no one's going to come out and tell you, you got to do that critical thinking yourself. You have to think about the industry or the career that you want and what that may look like in 5 to 10 years. What effect will AI have on your industry? Will it be obsolete? Because by the time, within the next 5 to 7 years, there are going to be so many careers that are obsolete. And no one's talking about that. And so I know with the students that I meet with and we talk to, and I know the teachers that I work with, they do an amazing job of relaying that information.
So as adults, how do we sign up for mentorship? Where do we go to sign up for mentorship? Guide us in that sense of how can we get more adults to sign up for mentorship opportunities?
So like adults, like within like our age?
Yeah.
So I think, again, it's just someone you see, someone you don't know them, but you see them, you are inspired by them. You just say, hey, I've done this quite a few times, and people think like, oh, you're crazy. I'm like, no, it's people don't mind. People like helping people.
Yeah.
For example, that Eastern Michigan University event I was at, I think Chris, forget his last name, the man who sold his first business for $100 million. I said, hey, can we connect on LinkedIn? And he was like, absolutely, sure. And we connected right then and there. And so it's like, people are open to that. Going through, if it's in the business world, there are a ton of organizations out there that you can be a part of that will connect you within the community. Something that I wish I would have done sooner is finding, and this was another way, like just finding, because I remember Faris telling me this, Faris Alemi, who is like a great mentor of mine. He told me, he said, you don't need to like go out there. Like within your community, there's a ton of people. You just got to find them. You got to look. And I just was like, I don't know. I haven't seen anyone. It was funny. I would say maybe it was like a year after that. I was doing a pop-up and I bumped into, I think you guys had her on your show before, Sharifa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True inspiration. I'm like, that. It was like, I was like so grateful that I had met her. You know, and so many other people that are within the community. So tap into that first and foremost, you know. And people, like I said, are very willing to help and to advise and to guide, and just ask. Like, I always say, what's the worst thing that can happen? Somebody says, no, I'm too busy.
Yeah.
And I don't think, for me personally, I've never had anybody say that.
Yep.
Never.
I mean, I agree with that for sure. I don't know if you guys wanted to add on anything else. If not, you know, I just want to let you know, Jeehan, believe it or not, we're reaching that point where we're about to ask for that Motivate Me 313 advice part. But before we do that, I do want to give a shout out to our last sponsor of today, Yusuf BC Adhesives. If you can run their ad, you can go to BC Adhesives for all your industrial adhesives needs. They do food packaging, book binding, product assembly, and many other industrial services. If you are in need of adhesives for your business or having trouble with your current adhesives applications, you can contact them by phone at 1-888-679-9825 or go on their website at www.bcadhesives.com. Shout out to Matt, Terry Cassidy. You know, we play Green Bay this Thursday. Should be very interesting to see how that game goes. So with that said, Ahmed Soba said, Miss Nasir is right. She helps me with my job and how to do better. Nasir, I'm almost done with my class. Let her know. All right.
All right. Tell him 100% by Saturday.
Yeah.
We want that done. I know he'll get it done.
Tell them to do extra credit if they want to like tune in and maybe take a note from today's
I like that.
podcast.
I like that.
With that said, okay, so this is the part where we record it. So I'm going to get my phone ready once I'm done. I'll just do it on my phone. It's easier that way, right?
Yeah.
All right. So the question basically is, I guess, the Motivate Me 3 in 3 minutes. What advice do you have for the youth when it comes to dealing with everything that is happening in the world right now? You know, because there's a lot going on, and obviously some youth need advice on that alone, right?
Right.
So what exactly, or what advice would you give them on everything that is happening in the world right now?
So definitely education. Educate yourself. Know your own history. Know the history of the nation that you live in, the country you live in, and, you know, understand a lot about colonialism, neo-colonialism, the economy, government. Understanding, like having a deep knowledge of how government works and how you can make an impact there. You know, because people again keep saying, well, I feel so helpless, I can't make change. Oh yes, you have a lot of power. And with social media, with education, with understanding how things work at a deeper level, change can be made. Strategies can, you know, like you can create strategies and make profound change. So it's awareness, education, you know, history, critical thinking skills, making sure you have those critical thinking skills and you're not easily swayed. And that, again, politics is like chess. So you really, there's so much depth to that, like, and you have to be able to see through a lot of things that are being said, and also to be able to vocalize and articulate your thoughts, your feelings, and feel empowered by understanding both history and government and the effects and the patterns that we have seen, especially the effects of neocolonialism, of racism, of so many things that we've seen in the past. We continue to see. It's like, oh, that is what it is. So trust what you're feeling, call it out for what it is. But obviously, you know, educate yourself so that you're well-rounded and you can articulate yourself and you have that critical thinking there.
Yalla Detroit right there.
That was
All right.
beautiful.
That was very great. I don't know if we got the round of applause is not working either. I'm assuming. Yeah, because we're going to have to give her a real round of applause because of the I don't know what's going on over there. But with that said, you know, this was awesome. You know, this was one of those, hey, we're going to learn, you know, why is mentorship important? And we also got a chance to learn a little bit about Yalla Detroit. You know, I'm pass it around to my sisters. You know, any final words, final comments that you guys want to say, or overall thoughts on just the whole situation?
I'm going to call you out for a second. She thought she was going to be super nervous, and she killed it. Honestly, one of my favorite episodes. You were so perfect. honestly, you did a great job.
appreciate it.
And just again, I want the camera to look how cute this design is. Get your sweaters and get on the movement.
Yeah, for sure. And before we do that, because we're definitely gonna need you to
Plug in
your stuff more and let us know how we can do that.
I don't know if you if we want to tell them like what type of attire specifically. Like, is it just sweaters or is it t-shirts too? Kind of tell them.
So streetwear, it's hats, which we're always sold out of. And typically, if you're ordering, you got to wait about 2 to 3 weeks because we run out of those pretty quickly. Hoodies, we have t-shirts. Sometimes we'll do custom for, if it can be done in the times allotted, we'll sometimes do some custom work. But it's hoodies, t-shirts, hats. Like we got the sweatpants, and we got a lot more that we're rolling out. We're gonna be in the Fisher. I forgot to mention we're gonna be in the Fisher building starting March. So come check us out at the Fisher. We'll make sure we post that again. Just join our email and SMS list to stay up to date with everything.
Is there any like long sleeves?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we do. And
that's what I was hearing.
Yeah, sometimes we don't post everything we have, but if you reach out, definitely there's a lot more.
Cool.
First of all, shout out to Jeehan Nasir. Follow us on social medias. You got Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok under Oz Media. You can listen to the show on Apple and Spotify podcasts under Oz Media. Sponsors: Balkan House, Juice Box, Qahwah House, BC Adhesives, Specialty Medical Center, and Hanley International Academy. We appreciate them. Abid, any final words and final comments before we let Jeehan also tell us more about these promotions and stuff as well?
Like I said before, I'm so grateful that my son's in the same building as you. Thank you for looking out for my baby. And this is cool. This is amazing. Inshallah, success, nothing but success. And I feel like what you're doing for the youth is only going to come back tenfold. So, mashallah.
Thank you.
How can people, what can you just tell us again one more time, where can people get this product, and then give us any final words you want to say as well?
www.YallaDetroit.com. Also just follow all of our social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. If you are a type of person that likes to shop in person, just make sure you've subscribed to our email and SMS list, because we will let you know when we're doing pop-ups. Make sure we're heavily active on Instagram, so make sure you are following us there too, because we'll post if we're at a particular venue. In March, like I said, we'll be in the Fisher building, so keep an eye out for that and come and say hi. But yeah, that's where you can kind of find our stuff. And anytime we can, for certain individuals, if you want anything custom made, if you're willing to wait, we can do some of that. But yeah, YallaDetroit.com. And 20%, I forget to mention, this is, again, we have that as what we buy is reflective of what we value, right? And knowing where our money goes. And for our brand, we make sure that we are working with local organizations or that we are donating to them. I would say it's been a month or two now, 20%, and will continue to be 20% of all of our sales goes to the Palestinian Children Relief Fund. And in the future, we're going to have other organizations that we want to donate, or that we're going to be listening to you to say, okay, where else can we put some of the portions of those sales towards?
Inshallah. There you go. Shout out to Jeehan Nasir. This was, again, an awesome episode, and we appreciate you, Jeehan, for all the great work that you do. And of course, I'm just hoping, inshallah, this is not the last time we do something together. I think we can obviously do more future projects together. Looking forward to that. This was season 3, episode 11 of MotivateMe313's podcast. We hope that you enjoy this episode. Again, this is what we do every Tuesdays, typically at 6 o'clock p.m. We'll be live again next week, Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Be sure to tune in. We appreciate your support. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and we will see you all next